I think you should leave the comment section open in the YouTube video, and I'd love to see all the trollers and misogynist men be like, "Oh my God, these two, privileged girls,
Nepo kids.
nepo kids, but they're hardworking nepo kids."
Yeah, that we are.
That we are.
Hardworking.
For sure. I'm not a rags to riches story, but definitely a richest to more riches story. Be like, hey, Devita, ये सराफ की लड़की अच्छी लगती है, मगर शादी के बाद भी काम करेगी क्या? Listen, please go find yourself some basic bitch.
Hi Devita, how are you?
I'm good, Bani. How are you?
I am very good too. Thank you for coming. I know you've just gone through painful dental surgery and you've still made it. So thank you so much for coming and sparing your time for us.
Well, the commitment is a commitment, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. That I know you always adhere to.
That is true.
I knew you'd come. I was a little afraid, but I knew you'd come despite the pain. So thank you for coming while experiencing pain. But, we were very curious about your story, and the reason we wanted to have you was because, you've been so inspiring for young women entrepreneurs. You were 24 when you started View. And, what was the reaction of your family like? Were they like, this is great, you must do something of your own? Or were they a little, did they have reservations? What was that experience like?
Well, they weren't surprised at all that I'm in business because I've sort of been groomed to be in business. I started training under the tutelage of my grandfather from the time I was 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
By the time I was 12, I was attending dealer meetings. I was 16, I was going for trade shows abroad.
Wow.
I was 18, I left for the US to study.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I joined the family business. And I think I come from a very, thankfully, gender equal family.
Yeah.
So I have an older brother who's in the AI space and he's really smart.
Yeah.
So it's not like I was shoved into the business for lack of an heir or something. Although I always joke that he's the heir and I'm the spare. However, I think my family has always been very futuristic and progressive. And they felt that I should definitely be focusing on my career.
Yeah.
Yes, they did think I joined my family business, which I did. Zenith Computers, I was there from the time I was 16 till I was 24, training, studying, etc.
Yeah.
But I really felt two things, that there was a shift in the market and I wanted to build a brand that was more relevant to the burgeoning economy in India.
Yeah.
The second thing, I think I always say that, sher ka bacha sher hota hai. So the child of an entrepreneur is also an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah,
We have that explorer in us, do things our way. We want to try it all out. So I think the business plan was not something that they were completely sold on.
Yeah.
Because, a luxury brand in India all those years ago was like, no, it's a very small market.
Yeah.
But they're very supportive in every way. And so I could at least get it off the ground.
Yeah.
And they've always been so.
Yeah, and exactly because, I am also the daughter of an entrepreneur, and that curiosity and almost that risk-taking propensity, it runs in you. That's how you're raised. So it's not like unobvious that is, what you would choose as your field of work. Of course, the industry can be different, the product or service can be different. But I think entrepreneurship sometimes comes so naturally, if you've seen it around you in your family.
Yeah.
But what I have really liked about you personally is that you've been very real and honest about coming from privilege, right? Like you've said yourself, look, I am a Nepo baby, but I'm a hardworking Nepo baby. So, has it been the case where some of your achievements you feel have been dismissed because you come from privilege?
You know what? I do find that I used to write for the Wall Street Journal years ago at an op-ed column. And my editor back then, he said that some 97% of the negative comments that they get on WSJ as a platform digitally were from Indians. And so I find that people in India generally, coming from a mix of democracy, yet not a meritocracy. There is a lot of resentment and opinion, and then the internet just becomes a place for these people, and now the audience, of course, is called trollers, etc. Having said that, I would say, most of us today in India, I'll be very honest, have had some privilege or the other.
Yeah.
I mean, one privilege is that your family has a business that, that's been set up and you inherit. But even I've seen so many Indian parents sacrifice for their children to have the best education.
Yeah.
Or, really work hard to give them the best value system. So there's so much that Indian parents do for their children across the board. I think we're all privileged.
Yeah.
It's not just those in a business.
Yeah.
Anyone, even today, who went to IIT, IIM, whatever, cannot point a finger
Yeah.
to someone in a family business and say you're privileged.
Yeah.
Because we also know that there were 10 more people who went into what you got.
Yeah.
So why should I, be apologetic?
Absolutely.
Or worse, make some kind of fake story of being rags to riches when that's not who I am.
Yeah, you're not rags to riches, and
Yeah.
that's great. And I remember you said something even better when I heard you for the first time. And please tell us what you said. So,
I think we met when I was speaking at the Creda Youth
Yeah.
Conference in Jaipur, and I was very clear. I said, I'm not a rags to riches story, but definitely a riches to more riches story.
which is brilliant.
And I think it's very important, especially for women. I feel very passionate about this, where financial freedom, honestly, is not about having just a rich husband or a rich father.
Yeah.
It's about having the freedom to spend the money,
Yeah.
which comes in, of course, when you make and control that money.
Yeah.
So even if you do riches to riches, it's also a question of who's controlling that riches.
Absolutely.
And I think that has been very important for me to build together on myself and inspire women too.
Absolutely, because you know, at the end of the day, so many women in India, especially, because they are not, asked or even nurtured to be financially independent, even if they come from wealth and they marry into wealth, maybe sometimes even more wealth than what they came from, they end up staying in marriages unhappy because they just don't have the financial freedom. So it's so important to actually be financially independent, and it doesn't even matter whether you're making crores or lakhs or thousands, but at least if you can pay your rent, if you can have the freedom to make decisions for your own self, to be the architect of your life.
Correct.
I think that's good enough, and everyone should aspire to do that. I think parents need to tell their daughters that you should be financially independent.
I think what happens is, and I have a couple of friends in the fintech space who really tried to change this norm of financial education for women. But even in very affluent houses, there's the mindset of, तुम्हें क्या चाहिए पूछ लो, हम थोड़ी ना कभी ना बोलते हैं. Take what you want.
Yeah,
But that doesn't necessarily give you financial knowledge or discipline.
correct.
It's better to say, okay, make your own bank account.
Yeah.
You have some source of stipend.
Yeah.
But manage it.
Yeah.
Put in your own investments.
Yeah, grow
pay
it.
your own bills.
Yeah.
Understand how the banking system works.
Yeah.
So I think for all of us in school, we spend so much time learning like physics, chemistry, maths, and instead of that, if they teach us like banking, finance,
Yeah.
and independence in finances will be much more important.
Yeah.
Which has to be taken as part of your education.
Correct.
And not like an extracurricular.
I mean, we are not doing calculus in our businesses at
No,
the
I've
end of
never
the day.
used it after ICSE.
Same. So I've also not used it after financial arithmetic in college, and it was quite pointless. And thankfully, I studied finance, so I knew the universe.
Correct.
But for someone who hasn't,
Correct.
it's financial intelligence and financial education is very important.
I think some women almost consider it a badge of honor. And Bani, you and I both come from privileged backgrounds, right? And some women consider it almost a badge of honor to say that, oh, babe, I've never worked. Or like, I'm married to so-and-so, I'm XYZ's daughter or something. And I'm like, you know what? You just sound incredibly stupid.
I
You
agree.
do not sound, because all of us also have the option to not work.
Yeah.
But we do.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't think women should consider anymore that coming across as like this, in Great Gatsby, as they said, there's nothing better for a woman to be more than just a beautiful fool.
Yeah.
I don't think women in 2023 and beyond should ever consider that a badge of honor, that they're taken care of, or that like this one's wife or daughter. All of us come from that.
Yeah.
Please be yourself.
Yeah.
Sign your own checks.
Yeah.
Learn something.
Completely. I could not agree more. And I felt the same way because, of course, it's so common in this South Delhi, South Bombay culture also. Na? Like, we're surrounded by people. And it's not that they're not nice people. I'm just like, this cannot be what you pride yourself for. Like, okay, oh, I don't need to do anything is not a nice feeling to live with. So do better, know better. But tell us, Devita, people in certain industries, especially, tech like mine, which is real estate, they tend to historically not have taken women very seriously, right? Because they have been very, very male dominated spaces.
Yeah.
Has that happened with you, where when you started out, people were just not taking you seriously because you were a woman? They were like sexist?
Yeah, that happens all the time. I think especially in trade.
Yeah.
You know, when I deal with a lot of people in smaller towns, people who are in biggest places also, who are in the trading business rather than the very educated knowledge sectors.
Yeah.
So the knowledge sectors are a lot more equal,
Correct.
I find, because what happens is whatever age, gender, background, religion, whatever you may have, at the end of the day, it's about your knowledge and your skill set.
Correct.
But when it comes to the trade, there's a lot more bias. Very often they've never dealt with a woman in business. So you also have to sometimes cut them some slack that you may be the first woman they've dealt with.
Yeah.
And you sort of have to set the pace of how they treat you.
Yeah, they almost become awkward only.
They
I
almost
feel.
like कि मैडम आई है, पैंट पहनी है, you know, मॉडर्न सी लगती है, हम हैंडशेक करें, नमस्ते करें, हम क्या करें? So you can see that you know, if you keep that little bit of an offended feminist aside,
Yeah.
and understand and be empathetic that the person doesn't know how to offend, doesn't want to offend you.
They just
it's
don't know
that
better.
You just don't know how.
Yeah.
You know, then you have to cut them some slack and be a bit more forthcoming with, you know, making them feel comfortable with doing business with you. However, if there's a situation where it's just pure sexism, completely give it back.
Yeah.
It's your boardroom, it's your business, teach that man a lesson.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do business with them, even better.
Yeah.
Teach them a very verbal lesson and send them back.
What have you said to someone who was blatantly sexist whilst being educated, where you just felt like, you know what, this is appalling and I'm not going to stand for it?
I think one of the things that's been very offensive to me is that whenever I have found, you know, I've spoken to certain investors.
Oh, they're the worst. They're the worst. Yeah.
And I don't know what charms they get by thinking that, you know, someone from IIT, IIM is going to make them $1 billion business. But if someone comes from a family background, they are just not equipped to grow.
Yeah.
I don't know what that bias is all about. It's like a reverse bias happening. And
Yeah.
in the investing world, like being in a family business is a negative.
Yeah.
And so I've had meetings where someone would say, literally called my company, at the end of the day, yours is nothing but a hobby business.
Oh.
And I said, but guess what? My hobby business made me the richest self-made woman in India under 40. And who are you?
Well done. Well done.
Oh, well, I guess. So I think sometimes you kind of have to also realize that that's a strength where people underestimate you.
Yeah.
So this worked really well for me in my industry, where people would constantly write me off and they'd be like, it's a cute little business.
Yeah.
Or they got lucky with, you know, retail or online or something. And so my competition didn't take me seriously. So we could grow very healthily under the radar.
Yeah.
With constantly people being like, abhi band ho jayega. So, you know, we will finish them off. And
Yeah.
by the time we became this really big fish,
Yeah.
then they're like, oh shit, now what? So
Now what,
I
yeah.
think if you're a woman and you're, you know, tiny and cute and people underestimate you, you have to have what's called a judo strategy. You have to use your competitor's strength against them. You know, you have to be this very flexible, pliable, fast person
Yeah.
who they don't know how to handle at that size and lack of speed.
Yeah.
So everything is not a negative, you know, sometimes it's good.
Yeah.
You know, when you have guys in a meeting, people are very on guard because they feel like we don't want to tell them too much.
Yeah.
But for women in the meeting, people tend to get into a bit of advisory mode, sometimes a little
Everyone wants
friendly
to give you
mode.
gyan.
They give you gyan,
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah, I use it. I remember sitting in a meeting and I was sitting with bankers. And, you know, I've studied real estate. My first job was in real estate. I've been working in this space now for 9 years. And my younger brother is 2 years younger than me, and he's also fully involved in the business, and we work together, and he's brilliant. And we were sitting, and these bankers, and he had just kind of joined the business a few years after me, right?
Yeah.
They didn't even look at my face. So they're going on having this conversation with my brother, and it's literally like I didn't exist in the room. And I remember, of course, I was younger also. This is a few years ago. And I was deeply offended. And, you know, once it happened, I kind of let it pass because I was just upset about it. And I was just like, how could they? The next time I was like, you know what, I'm going to tell these uncles off. And I did. And I told them, you know, after my brother left the room that, you know, I just want to tell you very politely that I know maybe it was not intentional. but you weren't even looking at me and having a conversation, and I think that's very sexist. So I actually called them
Wow,
out.
good for you.
Yeah, and said that to them, and good on them. They did apologize to me, and they said exactly what you said before, which is that we're actually not used to working with
Correct.
women.
Correct.
We have one woman in the office, so maybe subconsciously we don't know better,
Correct.
but this won't happen again. So I
Correct.
think it's important for women in business also to sometimes just stand up and say, look, I understand maybe you're not used to it, but it's kind of not okay. And if I don't tell you that it's not okay, you'll probably do it again to somebody else who may or may not have the courage to say that to you.
Correct.
So, we have to break that pattern. So, you can tell them off, and you can do it in a very dignified way as well, and get,
And
the
not take
message
it very
across.
personally,
Yeah.
sometimes it's important to understand the context, right? And that's what leadership is all about. You're dealing with such different people.
Yeah.
You have to have an eye to understand that when is it that they genuinely have never dealt with it,
Yeah.
and when is it when they just want to give you a hard time because of
Correct.
gender,
Correct.
and not take it personally and know what strategy works
Yeah.
for each person.
Did you get a hard time because of age also? Because you were so young when you started off.
I guess, yeah, but you know what? I don't think all these things have really mattered to me because I think my personality has always been a little larger than who I am as
Yeah.
a person. But my brother does say that, there's this famous movie that came out, I think in the 2000s or something, called Seabiscuit.
Yeah.
It's about this tiny horse that competes with all the big horses.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the horse cannot see itself, right?
Yeah.
So it does not know that it's so much smaller.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes what happens is I'm not aware as much of what I look like and come across in a meeting because in my head I've been the big boss since I was 4.
Yeah.
So the way I speak, it may be comical at some point for people that, even as a young child, I've always been someone who is very strict and proper. But
And also extremely confident,
oh
right?
yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it does. I've always liked giving the little bit of an unexpectedness to people.
Yeah.
The gender and age thing always just makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's held me back at any way.
Yeah.
In fact, now I'm a little bit annoyed because I keep getting these young entrepreneur awards and I'm like, dude, I've been getting them for like 2 decades. Like, calm down now. I mean,
But take it now.
how many young
You look young, so now accept it
how many young
gracefully.
entrepreneur awards are you going to give me, man?
Yeah,
Just
till
a few.
50 now if you look young, if you feel young, then you keep
I think-
accepting
and I
the
think
young
that's also
entrepreneur
very
ones.
important. I had a magazine cover shoot 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I was really had like a very strict workout regimen, strict diet regimen, preparing myself, everything. And I do feel a lot of people who build a business are so focused on the health of their business
Yeah.
that they're not focused on themselves.
Yeah.
And so they have like a superb top line or they have really great growth plans. But when you see that person, he just looks like he's going to die of some lifestyle disease, BP or diabetes or something.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's important to maintain your youthfulness as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur because you are the source of energy that's growing this business.
Absolutely.
Right?
People derive that energy in your team from you.
Yeah.
So if you are only dull and if you're always dying and
Correct.
if you're just like lacking any sort of enthusiasm whatsoever, your team is going to be exactly like that. They're going to
Yeah.
replicate your energy.
And also, I think abroad what happens is when they hire CEOs, they make them go through very stringent fitness tests. In India, if they did that, hardly many CEOs left. So I think it's very important when you talk of young and youthfulness, is as an entrepreneur, maintaining your physical health, maintaining your mental health, maintaining your enthusiasm for life
Yeah.
is as important as your subject knowledge or skill set, etc.
Couldn't agree more. Finally, that was actually going to be my next question, that brand Devita is this, right? Is that, of course, you've built a phenomenal company. The company does great numbers. It's extremely profitable. The margins are fantastic. But also you are this person who enjoys, fashion and dancing and, you like being yourself authentically. What was the reaction of the Sobo uncles as you were building the brand Devita?
I think, unfortunately, I find that a lot of family business environments, whether it's in India, anywhere in Delhi or Mumbai or Chennai or Kolkata, even in the US, etc., I find that family business environments are often 2 or 3 generations behind in their thinking.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so I remember even when I was starting my business and there'd be articles about me, it would not be taken well in the South Bombay circle. It would be
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like she's in the newspaper and
Been on the front page of newspapers also.
the front page of newspapers, front
Yeah.
page of magazines. I've had people call up the magazine editor and be like, hey, Devita, ये सराफ की लड़की अच्छी लगती है, मगर शादी के बाद भी काम करेगी क्या?
Oh, wow.
And then like I'd literally have like big business family owners be like, yeah, but you know your daughter is too high profile and you know that doesn't work well in our khandan or whatever drama.
Oh.
And I was like, listen, first of all, your son is not even worth that. And now the same people forget the daughters or son, the same aunties will call and come in, Bita, who's doing your social media?
Now they want the
Bita,
kids
you're
to
good
do
like
it.
photographer. Like, what
Yeah.
happened to me being too high profile for your
Yeah,
fam?
yeah.
So I think what happens is that if you have the gumption to be the first person, you know, to show you are, to be fashionable, to be the face of your business, to,
Yeah.
you know, be open about your personal life or social life or whatever it may be. Yeah, in the beginning, there will be a lot of people who will spit out their morning tea when they read the papers or something. But that also then becomes very quickly followed and copied because they just want
Yeah.
that one person to take the leap. Like, I
Yeah.
got a house for myself some years back. Took me 3 years to build it because I'm a big design and, you know, detail-oriented person. And it was very shocking
Yeah.
for the South Bombay uncles. Oh my God, no, daughter's bought a house of her own.
Yeah,
And
not
now-
even, they would be less shocked if you rented it, but bought. Like you
Bought.
actually invested in your
Bought.
name.
Bought in the most expensive building. It's not like
Yeah.
I bought some small place.
Yeah.
Now 6 other girls I know in the same circle have bought their own houses and I'm like, oh, this whole real estate industry owes me royalty for setting these norms.
Send me these people in the north also, yeah.
I'll come into a whole campaign why we should buy houses.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think, yeah, I mean, it's not just South Bombay. I find across the world, you will find in their desire to hold on to some kind of tradition or values or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, you know, my brother calls it the morality of a molehill, you know, a very like queen bee society where
Yeah.
they're deciding everyone's lives. But I'm very fortunate that my family's always placed family above society.
Yeah.
That log kya kahenge was something they generally didn't give a damn
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
So whatever my extra personality has been, they've always been very comfortable with it, you know. They've
Yeah.
never been like, hey, what will someone say?
Yeah.
You know. So in fact, I remember I had a cousin of mine who told me when I was, you know, that, oh, you know, now you should meet a guy and you should not talk about yourself and you should like focus on him and this and that and, you know, you should come here in the ads and, you know, you're not a white man. What is wrong with you? Why are you doing this? And then when I came in my own ad with the whole model CEO thing that happened, which Forbes called me when the ad came out, my dad literally like, "Arey, send this picture to that cousin of yours."
Yeah, because people are like that, and thankfully, you know, I totally resonate with what you're saying because my family, you know, we grew up, my dad used to say this and he would instill this in us. He's like, दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा रोग क्या कहेंगे बाकी सब लोग. You know, so just don't care. You do you, you be you, you be happy as a parent. The only thing I want is that you be happy. So you be your boisterous, gregarious, authentic self and just do what you want. And everybody else around you eventually
I think it's
will
also
adjust.
meaningful. I think what happens is today in India, there are a lot of things, systems, which are very outdated, which are being held on to in the name of sanskar ya jo bhi bolo.
Arey, how
But
much
then-
we get settled down now.
But there's no relevance to, like, a lot of those systems honestly were made for women of the world of a different era. But today's global world, you
Yeah.
know, what we're doing is very on point.
Yeah.
That's why we're competitive.
Yeah.
So should I follow where the world is going in the world of business?
Yeah.
Or should I follow what these people who did business like 20, 30
Yeah.
years ago did?
And also what their sort of archaic perception of life, a good life is, right?
Yeah, they
like be
won't
married by 25, have a kid by 30, la la la, that whole thing just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So do you get a lot of like, abhi tum shaadi kar lo, abhi umar nikal jayegi, and log kitna intimidate honge tumse, you know, you're too much for an ordinary man.
I do get all kinds of, you know, what always cracks me up is that in India, this whole single shaming is a very acceptable thing.
Yeah, I
Right?
agree.
So the same people who call her oh, अभी बेटा, शादी कर लो, या अभी कौन मिलेगा, or you'll be too big.
Compromise कर लो, settle कर लो.
And their own kids are so miserable. So at one side I have to listen to this from like the parents who are like, oh, shaadi kar lo beta. And then the other side is I have their kids who over a drink will be like, oh babe, I got so stuck, I didn't want to get married. I would have been Elon Musk if my father had not married me off. Some guy will be like, arey, my wife and I, we don't get. I'm like, you know what? If you have an opinion on marriage, by all means, not even your children, keep it to yourself. Because this Indian system, I feel, of parents being so over involved in who their kids marry and what they do, I think it was made during child marriage days. So when the child is 12 or 13 in a village and their parents decide this is who you're going to marry and this is what you're going to do, made sense. But today you're 30 years old, you're educated and independent. That system should not be there. Chairman Mao banned arranged marriage in China in 1929, the Cultural Revolution. In India, that parampara is still going on. And it cracks me up because the same people who talk so big about marriage, when I actually know, like, behind those happy social media pictures, what's going on. I'm like, tum apna sambhalo.
This happy social media pictures of couples is just like so fake, because I know so many couples who are miserable in their relationships, who barely even spend any time together. But
I think दो लोग सबसे ज़्यादा दूसरों को lecture देते हैं ना, उनके घर में कोई तकलीफ है.
Because the ones who are happy don't care only.
And the ones who are happy don't also lecture you.
So they are happy, they're doing their own thing. They're happy for you also in whatever you're doing.
Correct.
It doesn't matter.
It's very comical, to be honest, when I hear a lot of these things. You often don't know what to say as a rebuttal, because you've always been taught, of course, to be very well-mannered in the environment that you've grown up in. But when you look at it from a larger picture, they're telling someone to get married. Are you being happy being married? Are your kids happy being married? So I think the whole Indian system of personal life, I think women have gone professionally really well. But personally, I think there's... they need role models, they need change, they need new things coming up.
And you're going to be one of them.
I am going to be one of them.
Tell me something, Devita. Has your success as an entrepreneur, as a woman entrepreneur, intimidated men a lot?
No, in fact, I find the opposite. What I find nowadays is very interesting. That there was a lot of men where this mindset was the woman has to put herself down. And I genuinely, and I sound like a total business graduate saying this, but I just didn't see any ROI in coming from an educated business family to leave it all to support some other guy's dreams. And I was like, listen, bro, I'm the star of my own show. I'm sorry, but I am not interested in giving up my career, supporting you, and then waking up when I'm 35 and being like, oh my God, you know what, my career went to dogs, main Elon Musk ban sakti thi. And then the guy also, not feeling connected with the spouse. So I think I've always been a very perceptive person. I've always been someone who likes meeting a lot of people and observing society. And I personally didn't find in that generation this mindset of always making the guy feel bigger and better. For no reason.
Exactly.
As the norm. And people are like, no, you have to. I'm like, for what? Put our resumes next to each other. It's matching, no? So if I'm going to make you feel great, you also make me feel great.
It has to be an equal partnership.
It has to be equal. So I didn't see, and I think I must have been the very few women in my generations who was just not impressed enough with a man to put myself, I mean, not that I ever put myself down for anyone, but to, how do you say, like, subdue myself. And that's why that whole intimidation was like, listen, I'm being me. If you're getting intimidated, that's on you. Having said that, one thing which I do find, which is great now, with a lot of guys who, I think maybe it came with social media, maybe it came with the whole startup generation, maybe it came with, I don't know what sort of sociological changes. But I find the guys these are a lot more woke. They're a lot more like, hey, you go girl, congrats, amazing, how do you do this? I'm so proud, this is awesome. So I will say that as women are finding their own footing very strongly, really going all guns blazing, a lot of guys thankfully have learned to catch up with us.
Yeah, and step up also.
And
little
step
bit.
up also.
Yeah.
So if that trend continues, it's great. But any guy who feels that, listen, I'm going to enjoy this throne of feeling superior, that I'm a man because I'm the son of the family, you're going to be like a total dinosaur in future India for sure.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think we've all met these people also. In common circles, maybe.
It should be like a secret blog.
Yeah.
You know, in the US, there's this famous website they made called don'tdatehim.com.
Really?
Yeah.
What is
where
it
women
about?
used to give reviews on a guy.
Really?
So maybe Bani,
Next
all about
business idea.
.com slash, you know,
yeah,
stay
don't
away,
date him. Yeah.
no ROI.
Yeah, no ROI. Oh, that's. Let's do this together. All about you / no ROI from this guy.
No
That should be our
ROI, no
next
ROI from this guy.
partnership.
It matches also.
Achha, tell us, Devita, what is now next for you, for View? What are your plans? What are
I
your
think,
dreams?
you know, honestly, it's been like some 16, 17 years since I started this company.
Yeah.
And at some point, I just want to take a breath and sort of enjoy it all.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you're working, you're so focused.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have those blinders on and grow and, you know, put yourself, give you 100%. But I think now, one of the things that I really care for is understanding that there's a younger generation coming in. And we have to set the mold for the next generation of what we think they can do
Yeah.
with businesses in India.
Yeah.
So I'm actually building what I'm calling the Viewseum, which
wow.
is View's Museum, which
Yeah.
I'm very excited about, which shows the journey of building a high-end luxury tech brand in India.
Yeah.
Because most Indian brands traditionally have always been the low-cost players compared to foreign brands.
Correct.
And I've been very focused on building a premium brand.
Yeah.
And I really feel that is what I want to build a sort of conglomerate out of, which is brands in India in sectors where there are foreign players. It's
Yeah.
not like, you know, you're making Indian wear and then saying, oh, we're number one, great, because no one else does.
Yeah.
But actually finding sectors, finding businesses and saying, okay, there are foreign players, we're the Indian-owned brand, but we're at par or even more superior.
Yeah.
So I think at some point, I don't know when I will, two big plans which I have. One is to do my PhD, which I want to do in feminine power.
Oh my God, it's on my list too. You know, if somebody asked me what is the one thing you wish you had, it would be this.
It will. I
Yeah.
think we should need something for our older
Yeah.
age. The second thing is, I don't see why we can't like have like an LVMH out of India.
Yeah.
You know, India actually is technically the back end of the world.
Yeah.
Some more finance and funding and confidence and common sense. Common sense being very important.
Yes.
I think definitely India is in a great opportunity
Yeah.
to be the innovator
Yeah.
in consumer products for the world.
Yeah.
You know, we used to be seen as this sort of jugadu, low-cost player. And I think now it's a good chance to change that and say, no, India is not just about low-cost manufacturing or outsourcing. It's also about building brand and product,
Yeah.
which is global.
Yeah. Agree. 100%.
And we're launching View in the Middle East and abroad. So I got to like live up to my own terms first.
Very well done. Congratulations.
Thank you, Habibi.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for doing this fabulous chat. But how are you taking time out for yourself? How are you unwinding after hours?
You know, I think one of the best ways to find what rejuvenates your soul is to go back to what you used to enjoy as a kid.
Agreed.
So I have, I think there are, as they say, there are hobbies that keep you creative and keep you fit. So I love dancing. I have a dance teacher and I keep making all these fun videos.
You're a very good dancer, Vese.
Thank you. I used to do
Yeah.
stage shows at one point.
Yeah.
So I enjoy dancing. My building is a pool. I go cycling down Marine Drive often myself.
Yeah.
So I think that's you know, as a kid, we used to not do workouts for exercise. We do a workout because we enjoy the sport.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's one thing. The second thing is also the creative part, which is something I thoroughly enjoy. I design my own house. I design jewelry. I design a lot of things. I bring that design knowledge into my business.
You're a fashionista.
I'm a fashionista.
Yeah.
I have like 6 stylists and I do all these shoots and I have a great time doing all of them. And
love
I
it.
think that's something I enjoy. And I think I just love people, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm always looking for smart, young, fun, driven, independent, enthusiastic women like yourself to hang out with, because I don't know why people have this perception that business women are all like these manly people who all hate each
Yeah.
other. That's not true.
And who dress only in like badly fitted pantsuits. My whole
Or those,
problem growing up
huh.
was I would see covers of magazines and I would just be like, this, exactly. This is the pose, and it's a very, very badly structured blazer and just badly fitted clothes.
Yeah, or a
And it
sari.
would piss me off, yeah.
Or is and
Be
and
different little
I
bit.
do feel that a lot of my free time, a lot of my time after hours at my house, or even if I'm traveling and all, I love meeting people and I love having amazing friends around me. I don't know why people have this mindset, and business women especially, you know, कि औरत ही औरत की सबसे बड़ी दुश्मन होती है, or some 70s movie dialogue. We need our girl tribe. We need women who are like-minded.
Of
We need
course.
women who are the people we can reach out to.
We hype each other so much.
We
on
hype
Instagram.
each other
Like, you
up.
look fab. I love this. Congratulations.
Yeah, like, hey, what do you think? I'm doing this
Yeah.
podcast, I'm
Yeah.
doing this show, etc.
Yeah.
So I think my after hours are all about then refueling myself
Yeah.
physically,
Yeah.
mentally,
Getting that energy
emotionally,
back. Yeah.
spiritually, and making that as a boss, you're so giving so much of yourself away
Yeah.
all day long. That make sure that your off hours time, you're in that very feminine receiving mode.
Yeah.
Which will of course happen when you surround yourself with
Fab women.
good friends, good
Yeah.
food, good clothes.
100%. Speaking of that, now we're going to close this, but I have a very fun game, and I knew
my
that you
God.
would be the best person for
Oh
this
my
game.
god, is it about like boys and dating?
Oh,
is everyone so
predictable, no?
curious?
But you know, I feel like you would be the only one who'll have fun doing this. So we'll do it together, na? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, the internet had this trend, he's a 10 but,
Okay.
right? So I'll give you a situation where you imagine that there's this perfect guy, he has everything, but there's one thing that's wrong about him, which I'm going to tell you. And then what does that make him? Does it make him a 5? Does it make him a 2? What is, you know, your opinion on that?
I can see the finance graduate out here
Yeah.
being like, let me evaluate men in terms of numbers.
और ROI नहीं आ रहा है.
नहीं आ रहा है.
So he's a 10, but his mom buys his clothes.
1. If you make your mom do any of your adulting work, like buying your clothes and you know, planning your meals and all of that,
It's too
no,
much.
I don't want to adopt you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
100% agree. He's a 10, but he doesn't drink wine.
Can drink whiskey, vodka, gin,
So
tequila.
long as he has something, huh?
As long as he's cool with it, you know.
Yeah.
I'll just add this also. I've grown up with an environment where drinking is not a big thing. So I actually don't have a big charm to drink.
Yeah.
But people who are stopped from drinking, they to go mad in a social
Yeah,
situation.
yeah.
So if he's drinking sensibly,
Yeah, anything is fine.
anything is fine.
Yeah. So,
चुपके से नहीं पीने का.
हाँ, so 10 only.
हाँ, 10 only.
Okay. He's a 10, but he calls espresso espresso.
I don't want to pay for his education.
So minus.
So yeah, not even like considered.
Okay. Out. He's a 10, but he sleeps at 9 p.m.
If someone wakes me up at 5 in the morning, I will slap them.
Okay.
So 9 p.m. Thoda bit if they can make it 11 o'clock. At 9 p.m. he's a 3 on 10. At 11 o'clock he'll become an 8 or 9 on 10. So the 2-hour difference will give you.
Got it. Got it. He's a 10, but he's never exercised in his life.
Oh my God, minus 10. I can't handle people like who are financially fit but not physically fit or mentally fit.
Very good point.
No, please get up at 5 a.m. if you do and go for a run.
Yeah.
Even if you sleep at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
But please be like very well taken care of.
Yeah, agreed. He's a 10, but he snores very loudly.
You know, people do snore if they're stressed or
Yeah.
they have got sinus issues.
But if you're a
or
light
something.
sleeper, then having
so
a partner...
please fix it.
Haan.
So people who have physical ailments but have not made an effort to fix it or are aware of it and not fixed it, then that lack of self-awareness makes them a 2. It's not the snoring.
Haan.
It's the fact that you didn't fix it
Fair
or try
enough.
to.
Fair enough. He's a 10, but he shouts at his staff.
See, to be very honest, most people I know who have been very firm bosses have had this culture, especially in India, where at one side they may shout it out at their staff, especially if they're not following safety norms or they're not, being hygienic or something. But at the same time, they really care for them.
Yeah.
They don't fire them or cut their salaries during the lockdown.
Yeah.
Or they've been counted on as family. If it's balanced well, then I'm fine with it. But jabardasti ka going around screaming and shouting to show how powerful you are, it is not.
Yeah, that's not attractive at all.
It's not attractive at
Yeah.
all. But if it's about being tough love, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Okay, great. So he's a 10, but he makes less money than you. As most people at this time.
I will teach you how to make more money.
So that's.
I don't think the money, when we come from a family business, I'll be very honest. One thing that a friend of mine, a Delhi-based entrepreneur, actually told me that, usually what happens with professionals, their lives and careers are a bit more like the education system. You kind of go like this.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, their lives are a roller coaster like this.
Yeah.
So you may be with someone who's Prince one day and Pauper the next
Yeah.
and then Prince again.
Yeah.
So as long as I know that this person's trajectory
Yeah.
is a roller coaster up and down, that is okay with me because
Yeah.
all our families have seen,
Yeah.
any
seen the
kind
peaks
of
and
ups,
troughs. Yeah.
peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
But if you're just thanda and
Yeah.
you're like, nah, jo thoda hai, thoda ki zarurat hai, I'll be like, listen, please go find yourself some basic bitch. I want someone who's driven.
Agreed. He's a 10, but he can't dance because you're a really good dancer. Now.
That's okay. I mean, as long as he enjoys watching me dance.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't need some guy to be like some salsa expert. I mean,
I feel like if they're too good, also have a problem little bit.
yeah, you're like, who are you dancing
Yeah.
with? But I think I've always been attracted to like the opposite of like, I'm a girl's girl. I like dancing and designing and drawing and all of that. And I have zero bone for sports.
Yeah.
I've won sports teams and not gone for a single match.
Yeah.
So as long as he's really good at, I don't know, cricket, tennis, or whatever
Something.
guys do.
Yeah.
Then I can be the dancer and you can be the
Yeah.
whatever, batsman or something. Wo chalega.
Yeah.
Balance ho gaya.
Yeah. Like my dad growing up always told me that don't trust men who are great dancers. Because he's a very bad dancer. Now I didn't know that, growing up, that was the logic. Like he's like, men who are very good dancers are a little dangerous. Then I was like, the men who don't dance well are also stupid only. So it doesn't matter. Across the board now, boys are how they are.
I mean, if he's a great dancer and he's straight, तो फिर चलेगा.
Acha, last one. He's a 10, but he has a Samsung TV.
Listen, this is a deal breaker.
Yeah. I
I'm
would have
sorry,
imagined so.
but any man I marry must have taste.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a taste or you don't have your own point of view,
Yeah.
upgrade or get out.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you, Devita. This was
Thank you,
such a
Bani.
fun chat. And we should do this again sometime soon.
100%. If you're not like blocked off the internet for all the inappropriate comments.
No.
I think you should leave the comment section open in the YouTube video. And
Huh?
I'd love to see all the trollers.
Then we'll
and
chat
misogynist
after.
men.
We'll
Be like,
discuss
oh my
and
God,
message.
these two, privileged girls.
Nepo kids.
Nepo kids. But we're hardworking Nepo
Yeah,
kids.
yeah. That we are.
That
we are
we are.
hardworking.
For sure.
But good. Thank you, Devita, for coming.
Thank you.
Lots of love.
Enjoyed
Always.
this.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.